Amigos, coming Jaime here today. It's exciting news for Premium Collection 2020. So today we're going to talk about Aqua Force specifically, and I'm going to break this down into two parts. So the first part is actually breaking down the Aqua Force actual support, and then the second part is actually going to be the Cray Elemental stuff because it's actually relevant and a lot of clients right now. So a lot of things are happening right now. So honestly, the metagame is going to change. So that's exciting. So let's just get right into it. So the first Aqua Force stuff that we get is the new crits. So we are getting some new crits that basically count as the cost of stride as a grade 3. So that is really helpful. The unit's name is Bumper Shooter, which is a funny name, but I like it. And so what Aqua Force had as a problem as a long time, especially in the G era, is that it hurt if you pay the cost of stride with 2 or 3 cards. And most of the time, those grade 1s or grade 2s that we used to pitch to stride hurt like hell, to be honest, because there were combo pieces that we needed that same turn. Aqua Force just doesn't generate advantage like that as easily from nothing. And at the same time, we don't superior call or anything like that. So we had to work with what we have in our hand and our field at the same time. So sometimes it dictates our turns and everything. So just having an extra card like a crit that can just pitch to stride and still keep your grade 1s and your grade 2s, and even some of those grade 3s like Riptide, Favas, Diamantes, and so on, that honestly are phenomenal rear guards. And so that way that brings that consistency of being able to stride in premium. So that's very much appreciated. Going into the stride, we actually have a new Blue Storm. And oddly enough, with the current Aqua Force support, it's kind of wonky. And so I'll explain. So the first skill is basically on place, check the top 7 cards for 2 units, call them to rearguard as rested. The second skill is basically on attack, counterblast 1, flip anything in the G zone. For every 2 cards that are rested, you draw a card and retire one of your opponent's units. So you get to choose. And then if you drew 3 or more, you can actually restand 2 of your rear guards just cause, but no power. So that's a very key aspect where Lambros, once he's GV2 and up, he can give 10,000. Alexandros always gives +5 for every card face up. This card does not give power, and so it's cool that you can get 2 free cards just by striding. They come as rest, which is kind of annoying because then like, well, I wanted to do some solid field formations, but these 2 units that I bring out from the top 7, they're going to be rested. So what do we do, right? And so we just kept thinking about it, and maybe we're looking at a different approach. Me and the other Aqua Force YouTubers, like on Force of the Ocean as well, is that maybe it was like Revon, right? And what I mean by that is that basically when we saw Revon first, is that he required to rest a unit. He needed to see 5 or more rested units to even do anything. And it's just like, that's a lot of commitment. That's a lot of commitment to do anything, right? I'll put it in that terms. What is the synergy with it? And so I really thought about it, and so it kind of falls into that bucket where you already have units that can, what's the word I'm looking, take advantage of rested units. And so what I mean by that is Coral Assault is a good example. So let's just say on place you call 2 units, you have to have an Excel circle. By the way, I forgot to mention that part, because in order to draw 3 cards, that means you have 6 rested rear guards. So you need an Excel circle. So assuming that you have generated an Excel circle and you call 2 rested, now you got to fill those 4 spots. And so what would I fill with those 4 spots? And so an example play can be 2 Coral Assaults, one of them being on the Excel circle, one of them being in front of one of the rested units in one column, and then the other rested units behind the Vanguard. And then of course you have a full standing column on what's left over essentially. And so I was thinking maybe Tidal Assault V, and of course Barraggio's V. And so basically with Tidal Assault, you can do the first battle, attack a rearguard in the front row, which promotes another rearguard that would be destroyed this turn. So potentially you can get rid of 4 rearguards on your opponent's turn by hitting the front ones and then retiring the ones in the back row or any remaining in general. So you do that, so that way you can actually hit. And then the second battle could be after restanding and boosted by Barraggios. Now, since you have 2 rested units from the stride skill, and Barraggios and Tidal are also rested as they're attacking, Barraggios' skill goes up, so he gets additional +5 to boost. So he becomes a 13k booster on basically the Tidal Assault. So now you have what would be a 17k column, a 22 column, right? So that actually is nice, especially for whatever reason they hit a trigger or something like that, just depending on how you play that out. But anyway, so then your next attack would be the Coral Assault. that is in front of a rested unit. And when he attacks, now he's going to see those 2 rested units, the tidal assault column with the barrages rested, so he'll get his plus 15, so he'll become a 24k beater, which is nice. Then you use the 1 on the Excel circle, which gets an additional 5k, so he becomes a 29k beater as well. And then you finally do your stride. You can draw 3, choose 3 of their units, retire them, restand the 2 coral assaults, do your triple drive. Any other effects that might have been, like, let's say the crit that goes into Soul when the Vanguard attacks, proc the Vanguard skill first so that he counts it, and then the trigger can go into Soul, get plus 10, and draw you a card to generate back more advantage as well. And so any triggers, apply them to the coral assaults, and then again you have a 24k beater and a 29k beater right after the Vanguard attack. And so it's a decent, pretty solid first stride turn, assuming that you have some decent pieces to work with. And so I kind of wanted to highlight that basically you get to see a lot of new cards during this turn. So you get the 2 cards that you grab from deck, and if they're decks, if they're cards like Narissa, a Coral Saw, or a Direct Shooter, for example, that honestly just go into Soul either during the battle phase or at the end of the turn to generate more hand advantage, that gives you an extra card to work with. Your triple drive with 3 new cards, the amount of cards that you draw from his skill is another set of cards as well. And so you can get approximately see like 6 to 7 to 8, maybe 9 cards depending on what your field is. And so that's pretty cool actually. It's not per se like, what's the word I'm looking for? A first stride kill turn. And that's okay to a certain degree. And that's where the Cray Elemental stuff starts coming in. But it's a stride that honestly, it's one of those situations that we can build some resources, do something, also retire and draw. And it's just kind of like the tempo card, essentially. I know Naruto, like on Reddit and on Force of the Ocean, he's mentioned this is like more of a tempo card. And I agree with him. This is more of like that. But there's ways to make this a little more aggressive, and I'll highlight that into basically the next part of my segment, which are the Cray Elementals. So what I mean by that is basically, I'll highlight 3 cards. So the first one is the Cyclone Stride. So basically in Vanguard or in the G zone face up, all of your units without continuous act or auto abilities get plus 5k. That stacks for every copy that you have face up on the G zone or on the Vanguard circle. And then there is the Tempest Sphere, which is one of the order cards that basically if you play it, you can counterblast 1, flip anything in the G zone, ideally the Cyclone, and you can check the top 7 cards, I think, to look for cards that basically don't have the continuous, the auto, and the act. So it could be your triggers, it could be vanilla cards, essentially, and you grab those, add to hand. So you can choose up to 2. So you can pot a green in a way, basically. And it enables Generation Break in that respect, too. But also you can flip the Cyclone just to promote the plus 5 for those vanilla units per se. And then this, whereas the third one, which really makes the difference, is Sazan, right? And everybody's talking about Sazan, and basically it's a unit that on place, it doesn't matter where, this is very key, on place, Soul Blast 1, call up to 2 vanilla units from your hand to rear guard circle, and if you do, draw 2 cards and flip a Cyclone. He specifically has to flip a Cyclone, just so you know. And it seems a little wonky set of effects, but really putting it into clans, you can have a Sasan engine. So you play a bunch of vanillas. There's another grade 1 Cray Elemental that's a nice vanilla as a 8k base, and I think he has 15k shield. You can add some of the grade 2 vanillas that you have in your clan, depending on what it is. Aqua Force has 12k vanillas, for example, in the grade 2 slots. So we have access to that. And you develop an engine that basically just generates advantage field and both hand. And the Cyclones, because you're flipping them, get plus 5 to each of those units. So if you have a column of those units, you instantly get plus 10 overall. If you flip another copy, you get another, it basically becomes 20k. If you flip a third one, it becomes 30k. And of course, if you flip the fourth one, it's a plus 40k column with 2 of those, units being vanillas. So it's just like, wow, that really starts stacking up. And we're able to do this in the early game, like grade 1, grade 2 turn. And honestly, one of the things that abuse it right now in Aqua Force is Odysseus from Ripples. So that's why I said it doesn't matter where on plays. So basically, you can ride this on, do the skill, call 2, draw 2 cards. You may even draw into the Odysseus, and then call Odysseus, shove one of those units if you have to, or something that isn't really useful at that moment, and then rewrite a Ripple grade 1 and pull out Sasan again. Sasan will trigger again. Soul Blast 1, call 2, draw 2 more cards. So you get 4 free cards. Not only that, you flip 2 Cyclones, so now they're plus 10 each of those units, and your GB2. And what's cool is that Odysseus generates Soul, so the cost that Sasan uses actually gets refunded by Odysseus. So, or I should say, Odysseus fuels the cost of Sasan, which is awesome. Like what? And this is all grade 1. So you can have a phenomenal grade 1 turn where you're attacking already. Very solid columns. Honestly, your Vanguard sometimes is the weakest column at that point. And then your side columns, they're plus 10 each if they're normal units, right? And which you will because you call them through Sasan as well. And if you didn't get this chance to do it in grade 1, you can do this in grade 2 and grade 3 and so on. And really what it helps is that you're going through your deck very quickly. You're generating advantage, you're applying pressure, and it's crazy, honestly. And so when it comes to like generating that not hand advantage, but the generation break count, you can easily be GB3, GB4 by your stride turn, and so you can actually just first stride Megiddo. Some of your strides that scale, like Alexandros or Valeos, just get even better on that first stride turn. Not only that, we have access to the new stride, which is Jumbo Dragon, the Blue Storm unit, right? So not only that, you have generated this field, and you get to draw more cards, retire, and at the same time, you're restanding these beefed up units, and it's just ridiculous if you really think about it. And so what's cool is that since you're calling when it's on place, you can call Sasan right from your deck and then do the skill Soul Blast and call to normal vanillas, draw 2 more cards. So you're generating massive advantage as soon as you stride the new stride, essentially, which is like, whoa, that's really cool. And so what I will do is that, or what I've done already, I've actually uploaded CFA play testing that me and the other guys in Force of the Ocean, the Discord, especially Zay, we've concocted something that honestly takes advantage of this. So take a look at that. Honestly, it's a lot of like kind of mind-blowing interactions, and then some of the grade 3s that you can utilize. And ultimately we ended up siding with Glory, because you can just shove a Glory Maelstrom into the Soul with Odysseus as well by your grade 3 turn. Your units are beefed up with the Cyclones, and Glory's skill can go off, and an additional plus 10k with some guard restriction, and it's just like it's gross. It's awesome though. And so take a look at that. I'll put it somewhere here in the video or down link in the link or description. So, but anyway, so Premium Collection 2020 is really good for Aqua Force. And a lot of clans too, so the metagame is changing, so we don't know how things are going to look like. I know everybody's in, quarantine, so there hasn't been actual major events physically. There's been some online events such as Vision tournaments and any other things that people are doing really just to have some usage of the game, right? We all want to play, right? And so with that, I'll end the video. I know I've already talked a lot, but honestly, I'm just excited because like Sasan, the new stride, the new crit, it's just a lot of cool stuff. And in the future, we're gonna get probably a retrain of Petros, which would be the new 30k shields that are the Sentinels, and it can provide some nasty Ripple, Odysseus, Sasan shenanigans. So with that, I'll end it down, and I'll talk to you guys later. Comment down below, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys. See ya!